Welcome back to Assembly Update. You can follow me on Facebook or on Twitter. On Facebook under Angelo Santabarbara, or follow me on Twitter under ASM Santabarbara. You can also find me on Instagram under Assemblyman Santabarbara. District office is located in the city of Amsterdam and in the city of Schenectady. In Amsterdam, 1170 Riverfront Center, Amsterdam, New York, 12010. I can be reached by phone there at 518-843-0227. In the city of Schenectady, 433 State Street, Schenectady, New York, 12305. I can be reached by phone there at 518-382-2941. And as always, by email at santabarbara@assembly.state.ny.us. Welcome back to the show. Our next guest is Ryan Smithson, who is from my hometown of Rotterdam, lives there now. He is the author of a book called Ghosts of War, and it's a true story about his experiences, the true story of a 19-year-old GI, and he's here to tell us about the book and also to talk about a play that's happening at Proctor's coming up. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, Ghosts of War. This is based on your experiences in Iraq. Tell us about your time there and how it inspired you to write this book.
So I was there in 04, 05, about a year total, and I was an engineer, and we were really physically rebuilding the country at that point, building up roads, fortifying bases, all the stuff you need to set up an actual operation. And we had a lot of different missions. One of the good things about being an engineer is we got to work in a lot of different environments with a lot of different units. We helped a lot of different people, including the Iraqi people. You know, there was one mission we had where we had to repair a road that was going onto a bridge crossing the Tigris River, and there was a family nearby that had a bad year from erosion from the river, and their farmland they couldn't cultivate properly or whatever. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know all the technical stuff, but basically what they needed from us was some dirt. So the local sheik came out to our lieutenant while we were out there sort of camped and fixing the road, and he said, hey, if you guys are bringing dirt for this road, would you mind bringing some over to this family? So we spent an extra week or two in the field just bringing fresh dirt to this family, because we had bucket loaders and dump trucks, and they basically had wheelbarrows and shovels, so we could do a lot for them. And the people that built village actually came out and brought us flatbread the one day as a sign of gratitude. And so that's one of the the nicer sort of stories. And then we have other stories. You know, we lost some folks, and there was a few different attacks on our convoys and things, and nothing really that crazy, I guess, not Hollywood worthy, so to speak, but we got our hands dirty a little bit here and there, just being out and about like we were. And when I came home, I just sort of shut off from everything. I didn't talk about it. I didn't bring it up. There was, to me, it was over. It was done with. I was just going to move on with my life and forget about it. But it doesn't work like that. And the way things started coming out was through writing. And I had always been a writer, I guess. I could always do it, but I didn't really see it as any kind of means to an end. I didn't really understand how valuable it was until I started writing about war, and I realized the power of that process to sort of take those experiences, and instead of them just being these haunting things in the back of my head that I was trying to forget and keeping me up at night, I had some kind of control over them. I was able to take them and process them. And I was able to share them with my wife. We were newly married. We married right before I left for Iraq, and coming home was a really tough adjustment on us. The writing started to sort of bridge that gap, and I didn't set out to write a book initially. I was just writing stories, but I had a professor in college who I wrote that first essay for, and she encouraged me to keep writing, keep writing. She said, if you feel like it's helping you, if you feel like it's therapeutic, then do it, keep doing it. And so I just wrote stories and stories and stories. I eventually had so many, and she said, I really think you could get this out there. I think, part of the writing process is the therapy for yourself, but also especially for veterans and the sort of problems of reintegration. You can help a lot of people by getting your experiences out there. So that's what prompted me to really get the book out there. It took a while, it took a lot of rewriting, but eventually got picked up by HarperCollins, and they wanted to turn it into a YA story. young adult, which I didn't write it for any particular audience, but they said, you were 19, you were overseas, you were 16 when you decided to enlist, 17 when you actually enlisted. So it's a young adult voice that you're working with here. So they worked with me to sort of rewrite it for that audience and that market. And that's been phenomenal for it because it's actually been inducted into high school curriculums and it's in college curriculums around the country. So it's been really an awesome experience. So as far as the play, a few years ago, a theater director in Chicago contacted me and said, hey, I read your book, I love it, I want to tell your story on the stage. And my first concern was, is he going to politicize this? Is this going to be, because that's obviously the #1 thing that war stories turn into in this country, for better or for worse. And one of the first things he said to me when I actually called him was, I love the non-political nature of your story. I love that it's just your story, that it's not the mainstream story you see on the evening news, but it's the important work that needs to be done in a combat zone. And the way you tell it is very effective and meaningful and poignant. So I knew right away he was in it for the right reasons. So I said, you know what? You can make me a part of the writing process if you want. I'm in school and working 2 jobs, and I got a couple kids at home, so I'd prefer to not work on some project like this right now. But I said, if you want me in the writing process, I can be there. But honestly, I'll let you do everything, which was how he wanted to go anyway. So I said, take it and run. Do what you want. So I haven't read it. I haven't seen it. I don't know who's playing me. I don't know anything. I'm going to go in there like a blind patron and just see what happens.
Just observe and see.
Yeah, I want the real experience of how it's going to hit an audience. Obviously, I have an insider's view.
But it's based. The play is based off the book.
It's based off the book. And I don't know what stories he's using, what ones he's taken out. We'll see.
And that's at Proctor's. Is it at the GE Theater?
It's at the main theater.
The main
stage. Yeah.
Okay, the main theater, Proctor's, March 26th at 10 a.m. You can get tickets at Proctor's or
you can call. You can go online. Yep. It's part of their school series, so there's going to be a lot of students there from the different schools in the area that have read the book. Yeah. But it's open to the public as well. And
the book is available obviously online on the web.
Sure.
Yep. And it's also available at local bookstores. But you mentioned it's also available at the Open Door Bookstore, right in Schenectady.
Yes, one of my favorites.
So we'll look for that there, and people can buy the book. It's called Ghosts of War. And it's a true story of a 19-year-old GI. So you talked about there's some pictures in here that I also see and these are all pictures that you took or took during your time in Iraq.
Yes.
And you even have a picture of your wife before you left, and you got married before you were deployed.
Shotgun style. We just did it.
So there's a transition, obviously. Going there, what was it like coming back and transitioning back into? You live in Rotterdam now. You live in a town that, you've been gone from for a while. What was it like coming back?
It was very surreal. These wars, especially because they're being fought by reserves and National Guardsmen. I was a reservist, so most reserve units aren't full strength. So when they deploy, they pull from anywhere to fill their ranks and then go do their thing. My unit was out of West Virginia. We had people from all over the country. I was the only one from New York, and it's a really weird and, dare I say, kind of broken system whereby we take civilians and turn them into soldiers. And if you count basic training and job training and my mobilization training, before I actually set foot anywhere in Iraq, I trained for the better part of a year to learn how to do that. And when we got home, there was a 2-week debrief in Fort Bragg, and then we were back home with our families. Now, we wanted that at the time. We wanted to just get home, obviously. But there was no decompression stage. There was nothing built in to help us really transition. There's a couple forms you fill out, and you check the box. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Nope. Are you having nightmares? Nope. Because you just want to go home. There's none of that. It's bureaucracy, and you know the game, you know how to play it. So a lot of veterans fall through the cracks in a system like that. And when I got home, and I was having some night terrors and stuff when I first got back, and I was ashamed of it You know, I felt like, you know, I'm strong enough to handle war for a year, but I can't handle stupid night terrors. And it was very difficult and isolating. And the sort of, the way you're trained to deal with emotions as a soldier is to not listen to them. Because if you think with your heart in a combat situation, you're going to get somebody killed, you're going to get yourself killed. Which is fine, and that needs to happen, but there's a process of opening those things back up that needs to happen. For me, thankfully, it was through writing, but a lot of vets don't get that. And they never have that. And that's why you hear of these World War II vets who don't talk about anything their entire lives, and then when they're on their deathbed, they're in the nursing home, whatever, and they start just rambling about all these things that they went through in war, because their soul needs to process it, needs to get this stuff out. So part of the reason I'm so happy and grateful that it's gone to the stage is because a book is great and telling the story is wonderful and it's effective, but at the end of the day, that's me sitting alone writing and a reader sitting alone reading. That's the sort of process by which we transfer this message. Whereas on a stage, it's a communal setting. There's people in front of other people, and they're talking, there's dialogue happening. And that's what needs to happen in our society for true healing and for true reintegration. And because that doesn't happen, and because that's not encouraged, and because we think the veteran should come back stoic with the 1,000-yard stare and not talk to anyone, because we accept that as the norm, we don't encourage that dialogue. And there's this real separation between civilians and soldiers, and nobody really wants to talk to each other. You know, there's thank yous on Veterans Day, and there's handshakes, and there's lip service, and that's all a good start. But there's more that needs to happen, and it's a cultural problem, and we need to fix it. But this story, and I'm trying to tell people that. I'm trying to really get that message out there, because it's vital.
And you're right. It doesn't it shouldn't just happen on holidays and Veterans Days. It should happen all year round. Mm-hmm. And I hope that your book sort of inspires some of that. And I encourage people to read it. I encourage people to find it. In Schenectady, they can find it right at the Open Door Bookstore. You can find it in any local bookstore of your choosing. It's called Ghosts of War. We heard from Ryan some of the stuff that's in here. And the play at Proctor's, March 26th, 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m. You can buy tickets. Is there a website we can refer people to?
Yeah, just the Proctor's website. If you go on, there's a link to the play.
And also Patreon.com.
Patreon is my. I'm a member of Patreon, where I post writing that I'm working on now. People can read it. They can give me feedback. A lot of it's free. There's also, like, you can subscribe and stuff, and you can read other excerpts. And there's a lot of great artists and stuff on there. It's a really great website.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing this with the community, with the rest of the world, the rest of New York.
Thank you for having me.
To read. I want to thank you for your service in Iraq, and thank you for everything that you've done for our community through your stories and inspiring others to appreciate veterans and really know, your stories really give us a little glimpse into what it was really like, what it's really like to be overseas and to be away from your family. And you had just gotten married and had to be deployed.
It's tough.
So yes, it's not an easy thing to do, but we want to thank you for your service. I thank you for sharing this on my show. Ghosts of War is the book. If you haven't had a chance to read it, go ahead and get a copy and read the book. Join us again here on Assembly Update, where we'll talk more about people in our community doing great things and serving our country just like Ryan. So join us again here for the next show. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.